Your home should support your life, not drain it. I'm Katie Trudeau, and this is the Whole Home Living Podcast. Here, we talk about simple, plant-forward eating, realistic rhythms, and small systems that help your home work with you, not against you. No perfection, no pressure, just practical shifts that make everyday life feel lighter, calmer, and more nourishing. Let's get into today's episode. Hey there! Over the last several episodes, we've talked about hunger, calories, pantry systems, and even your heart health. And if you've been listening carefully, you may have noticed a pattern. Health doesn't fall apart because of one bad habit. It falls apart when the system isn't supported, when sleep erodes, when stress accumulates, when your pantry is suddenly working against you, when connection with family thins out, when your home pulls you away from the life that you are trying to build. So today, I want to slow down and unpack the framework that holds all of this together, the H.E.A.R.T method. This is the philosophy behind whole home living. It's how I think about food, health, home, faith, and family life. And it's designed to work in real life, not just in theory. And so, first up, we're going to talk about why a framework matters. Most health advice isn't wrong, it's more fragmented. You might talk about food over here, you might read about exercise over there, you might read about mindset somewhere else, and home and relationships are rarely mentioned in the scope of health. But your body doesn't live in fragments, and your family certainly doesn't either. The H.E.A.R.T method exists to bring health back into relationship because long-term health is relational with yourself. It's not isolated. At its core, the H.E.A.R.T method asks, does the way I'm living support the life and the relationships I'm trying to build? So what does H.E.A.R.T stand for? H stands for holistic living. E stands for empowered nutrition. A stands for active lifestyle. R stands for resilient mindset. And T stands for transform your home. This framework is inspired by the blue zones. That's the research on long-lived populations in specific areas of the world. It's also inspired by the Danish concept of Hygge. So, I'm going to confess, for a very, very long time, I thought this word was called Hygge. So if you've only read this word and you've seen it as Hygge, and you're like me and you think it's Hygge, I am here to tell you you're not alone. It is pronounced Hygge. All of that aside, Hygge is the idea of coziness and comfort and presence and connection. I love the idea of Hygge. The framework is also inspired by family-centered, faith-informed view of health, where physical well-being supports vocation and service to others. This is not a checklist. It is a lens that you can view life. All right, first up, we're going to talk about H for holistic living. The word holistic comes from a Greek word, H-O-L-O-S. It means whole. And so holistic is looking at the whole picture of you. It means recognizing that health isn't just food or just exercise. It is many things. It is sleep. It is stress or lack of stress. It is relationships. It's your daily rhythms. It's everything that you experience. Chronic stress is associated with increased inflammation, elevated blood pressure, impaired glucose regulation, even when your diet is good. And then sleep deprivation affects your hunger hormones, it increases cravings, it impacts your emotional state. So just from these two examples, chronic stress and sleep deprivation, you can see how these two aspects affect many parts of your physical, mental, emotional life. Holistic living asks, what feels out of balance right now? What area of my life needs support? And sometimes that answer isn't changing what's on your plate. Sometimes the answer is you need rest, real rest, not just sleeping at night, but rest that soothes your soul. Sometimes holistic living means that you need to set boundaries, or sometimes you need to ask for help. We are not meant for isolation. We are meant for community. So health is rhythms, all of these things working together. Next, we'll look at E for empowered nutrition. Now, I realize I could have just made this E for eating, but I really wanted to stress the empowered piece of empowered nutrition because I don't want to live in fear. I want to understand what we need to eat and why. The E is also where traffic light eating lives. So if you've listened to all of the episodes before this one, you know we've already covered traffic light eating. Now I want to call out one particular fact while we're on this topic. High fiber diets are associated with significantly lower cardiovascular risk and improved blood sugar regulation. Yet, most Americans consume less than half the recommended daily fiber intake. So, why I want you to feel empowered is because this is a big deal. And that's only talking about one nutrient. Only one fact about one nutrient, fiber. And I want you to feel empowered to put the food on your plate that is good for you, that God intended you to eat, things that can impact your health in big, big ways. So it's not enough just to say eat healthy. I want you to really feel empowered that you're making the right decisions for you. So instead of focusing on restriction, empowered nutrition focuses on addition. We're talking about adding vegetables, adding beans, adding whole grains, adding stable, lean protein, adding healthy fat. And you know, if you've listened to Traffic Light Eating, that means eating green light foods, eating the yellow ones mindfully. And if you eat a red light food, doing so occasionally and intentionally rather than mindlessly. Again, food isn't something to control, but it is something to collaborate with. You can give your body the information and the nutrients it needs with empowered, deliberate choices. Next up in heart is A for active lifestyle. The American Heart Association recommends 150 minutes per week of moderate exercise to reduce your risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, depression, and cognitive decline. Exercise in this pillar isn't about trying to be elite. It's not trying to punish yourself. Movement should be normalized. Your body needs it. Talking about walking every day, things like strength training, just moving more throughout the day, preserving muscle as you age. Your body was made to move and it responds generously when you do. So this pillar includes all things exercise related. There's a lot to talk about. So I'm really just giving high level about right now about what each pillar includes. This pillar also includes the joy of movement, doing things as a family, moving outside in nature, going for a hike, incorporating playtime into a child's routine. So like I said, this podcast is not exhaustive on each pillar. It is just high level. All right, next up is resilient mindset. So this is our R of the heart method, and this is where the mind and spirit health live. So I want to start by just defining what resilience is. Resilience is the ability to adapt, recover, and continue without abandoning yourself. It's not about being tough. It's not about pretending you're fine either. And it's not about pushing through when you're exhausted and burnt out. All right, resilience is flexibility rooted in identity. And for many of us, identity isn't just psychological, it's spiritual. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that chronic shame and self-criticism elevate cortisol and stress-related inflammation. So remember, I said all of these pillars are connected. And right now we're talking about how your mental health can lead to physical changes in your body. So what do we need? We need self-compassion, emotional regulation, and psychological flexibility. All of those things are associated with better long-term behavior change, lower stress reactivity, improved immune function, and greater adherence to healthy habits. But there's another layer. Studies show that regular spiritual practice, including prayer, communal worship, that means worshiping together as a community, And faith-based connection is also associated with lower rates of depression, greater life satisfaction, stronger social support, and improved coping during stress. All of that to say, faith does not remove a hardship, but it reframes it. And a resilient mindset strengthens both your mind and your spirit, which then ripples out into your body as well. A resilient mind asks, what story am I telling myself? Is that story aligned with truth? Am I striving for perfection or faithfulness? In a culture that constantly tells us to do more, hustle more, resilience says remain, root, turn. So for me, resilience is remembering that my worth is not earned by productivity, physique, or performance. Worth is given. And when identity is secure, your behavior becomes steadier. So all of that to say, you don't panic after one off-plan meal. You don't spiral after a missed workout. You recalibrate. All right, now I want to just add spiritual rhythms also support your physical health. Resilience can look like beginning the day with quiet reflection instead of doom scrolling, practicing gratitude before dinner, observing the Sabbath rhythm of rest, actually resting, letting your body and mind rest, speaking life instead of criticism. Our words have power, how we talk to ourselves, how we talk to our spouse, how we talk to our kids, and returning to prayer instead of rumination. And gratitude practices are associated with improved sleep, reduced stress markers, but beyond all of the data, spiritual rhythms can also regulate your nervous system. They shift you from feeling like you're constantly having to strive for something more into a state of steadiness. And steadiness builds sustainability. That's how you keep those habits. Resilience is what keeps you aligned when life gets messy. And if you haven't noticed yet, life will get messy. All right, on to the last pillar, T, transform your home. This pillar multiplies everything else. Your home is not neutral. Your home shapes what you eat, how you rest, how you connect with your loved ones, what your nervous system absorbs, what chemicals you're exposed to daily. So it's all about relational design. Blue Zone's research shows that strong social connection is one of the most protective factors for longevity. Hygge reminds us that comfort and presence are not luxuries. They are stabilizers. You need them. So transforming your home might look like clearing the table and actually using it, sitting down as a family around the table, lighting a candle at dinner, having one screen-free meal per week, although I will challenge you to have all screen-free meals. But if you're trying to break the habit of watching TV while you eat, start where you are. Try to do one screen-free dinner per week. You'll find that if you move the screens, you focus on the other person that you're eating with, or people if your table is full. And there's a beautiful opportunity for connection with others in your family. You might change the lighting in your house to have soft lighting in the evening. I could go on a tangent, but we recently changed all of the light bulbs in our house. So we have cozy lighting in the evening. It's a topic for another day. And then just really being present with the others in your house. So in addition to that, there's also the idea of the environmental load in your home. Your indoor air could potentially contain pollutants more than most people probably realize because common household products, artificial fragrance candles, plug-ins, scented laundry detergent, dryer sheets, harsh cleaners, all of those things release volatile organic compounds. And again, this isn't about fear. This is about reducing load. And so we already know that your body detoxes through your liver, your kidneys, your lungs, and your digestive system. So when possible, we need to lower the unnecessary exposure that supports those systems. And you can control your home. So that's the perfect place to start, is detoxing, removing some of that pollutant load from inside your home. And simple swaps make a big difference. Beeswax or unscented candles instead of ones with artificial fragrance. Switch to a fragrance-free laundry detergent. You could open the windows. I love the idea. It is a German It is a German custom where you open the windows every day. Does not matter what season, winter is included, and you let all of the stale air out and you let all of the fresh air in. I love that idea. And when I do that in the winter, my family calls me the ice queen, but you open the windows for 10 minutes or so, air out the house, and then close them back. Of course, if it's nice out, you can keep the windows open longer. All of these things seem very small, but when you repeat them daily, they compound. They make a big difference. So all of this comes together. When one pillar strengthens, the others follow. So let's walk through how they're all connected. When you have better nutrition, then you have more energy. When you have more energy, then you have more movement. When you have more movement, then you have a better mood. When you have a better mood, you are more consistent in these habits that you're trying to build. When you have a supportive home, that leads to less friction. So you don't fix everything at once. Instead, you focus on strengthening the system. And systems make health sustainable. Now, if this framework has been resonating with you, I've written it out in much more depth in my book, Climbing with H.E.A.R.T. It walks through each pillar with stories and practical ways to apply it in family life. There are reflection questions at the end of each chapter that you could do with a friend or your spouse or even together as a family or a little book club. If you do it as a book club, I would love to hear how it goes. All of that aside, you don't need the book to live out the H.E.A.R.T method. It's also listed on the website, but the book is there if you want to go deeper. So, in closing, the H.E.A.R.T method is not about doing more. It's about living in a way that supports your body and your family and the life you're trying to build. Remember, health isn't performance, it's practice, and it starts at home. See you next week. If today's episode was helpful, take a moment to share it with someone who could use a little more ease around food and home. You can also leave a review. It helps more families find whole home living. For simple resources, practical tools, and upcoming workshops, visit wholehomeliving365.com. And remember, eating well doesn't require perfection. It just needs a system that works with your life. I'm Katie Trudeau. See you next time.